Thank you. Before I begin, I would like to thank the Scientific Summit for having a panel to discuss the current situation in Latin America regarding new nicotine delivery products and the needs to adopt harm reduction for one of the most consumed substances in our continent. To complete their approaches, my presentation will focus on the importance of participation. When we talk about legal and illegal drug use, it has begun to be recognized that all aspects of approaching this situation have human rights implications. This has been the result of long process of social mobilization, activism, and advocacy in national and international decision making that continues faces new challenges. So here we have a general mapping of human rights when we talk about drugs, including nicotine and tobacco. It is important to understand the human rights of nicotine users as a broad spectrum of guarantees that go beyond a legal market of electronic devices or nicotine-containing products. On the other hand, a human rights approach responds to a comprehensive and differential attention to the specific needs of each population group, and it is proportional to the risk of each alternative, from electronic cigarettes, vaping, to medication and replacement therapies. Indeed, nicotine users and smokers have right to enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health. I want to hear, and is also necessary to address the social and economic determinants related to healthy habits. This social justice component it's fundamental in Latin America, given that many people do not have access to information and service related to healthy habits. Second, freedom to thought, expression, and access to information. This includes the right to hold opinions, express ideas, seek information about nicotine and harm reduction. Third, very interesting, the right to benefit from scientific process and its implications. And finally, a fourth right, the right to personal autonomy and identity that protects the individual's right to self-determination. In addition, we of course agreed to uphold and enforce the human rights obligation of governments to particular groups, such as children and adolescents and women's, of course. So let's move on. In this context, the governments have the essential purpose of facilitating the participation of all people in decision-making that affect them. That is to say, participation is not only a desirable practice, but the governments has the obligation to facilitate, promote, and sponsor it. Thus, I would like to emphasize that first, harm reduction in consolation of open the, in particular, people who use nicotine and other communities must be involved in decisions that impact them. Second, people need to be at the core of decision about their health. And finally, nicotine user and harm reduction NGO can play an important role in the analysis of the nicotine use phenomenon. I'm going to jump in this because we want to have a discussion time. So to understand the degree of participation of smoker, we analyze the case of traditional cigarette regulation, a highly accepted and international endorsed process. We found that during the formulation and evaluation cycle, there has no meaningful participation of smoker at either the national or international level. For example, at the international level, at the COP, out of 21 NGOs with observer member status, 0% are nicotine or organization of tobacco users. That is to say that this discussion scenario led by the World Health Organization has no far allowed the participation of any organization representing nicotine users. In addition, there is a high stigmatization of tobacco harm reduction advocacy organization. In Latin America, currently, we have a context of participation in this issue. I'm going to say that it's characterized by an utilitarian and asymmetric relation between governments and the civil society groups, in which population is involved without having an important place in decision-making process. In this, the government controls the participation process and prioritizes the orientation that suits its own interest. In addition, there is an increase in the number of stakeholders interested in participating, as well as different vision and proposals for regulations and approach. So in my opinion, I want to say that where we should participation be headed is through our social pressure and mobilization for open political environment and a strong collective entity to achieve effective participation. Empower and consultative participation means that users of nicotine are in the center of the decision making, breaking down barriers to participate and change the traditional information models. As part of our call to action, we want to emphasize that we cannot allow social dismobilization and disinterest in decision making, because it is open the way to paternalist relations, authoritarianism, populism, among others. I know that we don't have more time. I just want to say that we are concerned about the social mobilization of nicotine users, especially in the context of new evidence, new products, and of course, regulations. So here is our platform. And to ensure that intervention and comprehensive and effective nicotine harm reduction platforms propose these following principles. At the same time, we have a statement with 8 goals, which sets our opinion, our position, and our key issues and our lines of work. The organization that you can see here are some of ones we have worked with more closely. They are located in different countries such as Spain, Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, Peru, Panama, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Brazil, among others. And we admire them for their work. Finally, I just want to go to a very quickly overview about regulation in Colombia. Unlike other countries such as Brazil or Mexico, where the trend towards some degree of prohibition is stronger, in Colombia, after 6 bills presented in Congress for the last 7 years, today we have 2 bills to regulate electronic cigarettes. However, we have first project that seeks to regulate all new products equal to tobacco, which will imply many risks for smokers and few guarantees of access to the new alternatives. However, we have a second bill, which we have technically advised, which has the objective to regulate in a different manner. We believe that this, if approved, will be very good precedent in Latin America and will achieve better results in health, human rights, and participation. We know it is not a perfect bill, but if you would like more information about this bill, please do not doubt to contact us. And this concludes my intervention. Thank you for all.